Hey, let's sing song 344. Let's get that. Song 344. Let's stand as we sing The Family of God. Morning. 344. I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God. I've been washed in the fountain, cleansed by His blood, joined heirs with Jesus as we travel this side. For I'm part of the family of God. You will notice we say brother and sister around here. It's because we're a family and these folks are so dear. When fun has a heartache, we all share the tears and rejoice in each victory in this family so dear. I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God. I've been washed in the fountain, cleansed by His blood, joint heirs with Jesus as we travel this side. For I'm part of the family of God. From the door of an orphanage to the house of the King, no longer an outcast, a new song I sing. From rags unto riches, from the weak to the strong, I'm not worthy to be here, but praise God I belong. I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God. I've been washed in the fountain, cleansed by His blood, joint heirs with Jesus as we travel this side. For I'm part of the family. Big finish. Family of God. Amen. And we were going to do tithes and offerings right after the prayer, so just wanted to put that out there. Brother Ryan.
Coach, Father, thank you for this wonderful day, Lord. Thank you for everybody that was able to make it today. Please watch over us, Lord. Please allow the farm hands to be able to give us a wonderful message. Please open our hearts, Lord, so that we can receive your word the way they present it to us. And just let us have a great service. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you. See it. Ushers. Thanks for that. Oh, here they are. So, hey, we're in the praise. We'll sing Live Parade. We can do out. We can do out. Oh, I'll let you turn it off. I'm rolling. Brad, Lauren back here.
All right, let's pray over this. Dear Father, thank you again for allowing us to be here today, Lord. If you would please bless what we get to do today. Please allow it to go to whatever you will, Lord. Please open our hearts to be able to get to do better. And that's a great match.
Why worry? You got music? Maybe? Let's just sing a cappella. Oh, sorry. Why worry when you can pray? Trust Jesus, He'll be your stay. Don't be a doubting Thomas, rest fully on His promise. Why worry, 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 worry when you can pray? Why worry when you can pray? Trust Jesus, He'll be your stay. Don't be a doubting Thomas, rest fully on His promise. Why worry, 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 worry when you can pray? Amen. And Pastor, you want to do an intro? Oh, sure.
Praise the Lord. Sister Liz, Matt's wife. Update on her.
Yeah, she's just has her pumpkin dream. She's gonna have that home moved. She's just getting better. If she was at home, she'd be working doing something. So she's resting.
They still have her strapped down in the hospital bed.
After she was doing that walk down the hallway, she was right.
Amen. And Brother Paul Sloan had his stents put in, and they are at Roberta's aunt's funeral. So, oh yeah, for those that didn't know it, Aunt Donna passed. So hey, praise the Lord for the men here, farmhands, and they are. I don't have a really good memory. I know a lot of people don't know that, but I don't have a real good memory all the time. And it's really something that I remembered them as soon as you pulled out the pie.
The pie guys.
You've been here, you were here in 2013 or 2011, something like that. So hopefully it won't be that long before you come back. I mean, it's my fault because I do the scheduling. So, anyway, I appreciate them for being here. You're coming from where?
We live in Nashville. We were in Columbus.
Yeah, it was close.
They're in Columbus. Now they're here this morning. You got somewhere you going tonight? You want to marry tonight? Good, good. So, and they come for just a love offering. So, normally I mention that before tithing offering, so if you want to keep a little out, God understand. But, sorry, I do praise the Lord for them, and glad to see everybody here. Special friends that are here, and I praise the Lord for you. And I learned some of you really like bluegrass. Actually, one of you in particular, and I thought, well, that's weird. No, I just because, teenagers and such. But anyway, I praise the Lord. I'm excited, looking forward to it. And you guys have all your introductions and such like that. So that's it. Is that good, Matt?
Yep.
Okay. I'll make sure I do what Matt says. You're comfortable. I'll do it. You're going to do something? All right. Well, I don't really sit with my wife that often, so it's kind of nice once in a while. No, I wouldn't say.
Now so much. We appreciate that. Thank you for allowing us to be in your service this morning. We've been looking forward to being back up this way. It's been a little while for us, a number of years, but it's always a pleasure. We are the Farmheads. I'm curious, so I'm guessing how many of you are seeing the Farmheads for the very first time? Never seen this before right now? Okay. How many of you seen this for the last time? You can go ahead and raise your hand. No, that's all right. Well, we appreciate that. It's a joy to be here. For those of you seeing us for the first time, I can tell you we're basically just here to pick and sing and brag on Jesus. That's just pretty much our job description. So we've got some of the old songs to sing for you this morning, some new ones as well, and I hope the Lord will just bless you where you are this morning. So we'll start with a brand new song Tim brought to us, and we recorded on the new album. It's a beautiful song. He sings it tonight. It's called Crying for Crumbs. Son of David, have mercy on me, but I wanna pray. Satan torments my heart, night and day. But I know that I'm unworthy, Lord. There's others who should get more than me. He turned around and met her needs. Then she made a simple plea. I'm crying for crumbs today. Please send one down my way. 'Cause I believe that in my heart you love me too. I don't deserve one load, but please spare just one. I'm not begging for bread, I'm just crying for crumbs. Like that woman who needed help. Lord, I need help today. I want you to hear me, Lord, but I don't know what to say. But if you would look inside my heart, I believe that you will see another unworthy vessel, Lord. Oh, when I say, simple plea, I'm crying for crumbs today. Please send one down my way. 'Cause I believe that in my heart you love me too. I know I don't deserve one, Lord, but please spare just one. I'm not begging for bread, I'm just crying for crumbs. Lord, I'm not begging for bread, I'm just crying for crumbs.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and honor to get to be with you this morning. We hope we do something that you enjoy. We also hope we do something that you get a true blessing out of. We're going to be doing you some songs this morning, some old, some new, some you will know and some you won't know. For the people that have never seen us before, the next song we're going to do is an old one that you probably won't know because this is what my brother wrote. But I want to tell you how this song came to be. It's very interesting how the Lord works in our daily lives, and He always does. My brother's an entertainer who lives up in Knoxville, Tennessee. He every day of the week he's doing something in the music business. He's either writing a song or he's he's doing a show or a recording or doing an interview or something. But he had a very rare weekend off, and he decided he was going to go to this flea market and set up a table and sell some things he had around his house. Well, he got up that morning, he loaded up his van, and he headed to the flea market. When he got there, it was a cold, rainy day, not a lot of people there, so he sets his table up, and he gets to talking to the gentleman beside him. The gentleman's a man in his late 70s. And my brother asked him, said, what do you do with all your time? He said, well, I'm retired, and on the weekends I come here to the flea market, and I set up and sell things. He said, well, where do you live at? And he said, you see that mountain? I live up on the top of it by myself. And my brother said, you live up there by yourself? He said, yes, sir. He said, do you ever get lonely up there by yourself? He said, no, there's 4 of us. He said, sir, you just told me you live by yourself. He said, I do, but I've got the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and then there's me. So my brother wasn't expecting the Lord to show up at a flea market. Boy, he sure did. So he just walked away from the gentleman standing there and went and sat back down at his table and wrote this song. We hope you enjoyed it. It's called There's Just the 4 of Us. Too far from here. When I met an older gentleman who lived all over here. When I asked him if it's lonely, he lived by himself that way. His words taught me a lesson. This is what he had to say. They're just a 4 of us. I'm not alone, you see. They're just a 4 of us. To the gentleman playing the dobro guitar, doing the singing right there. Tim and I have been friends for a lot of years. We had the wonderful honor of sharing the Grand Ole Opry stage together for about 10 years. And of course, Tim was at the Opry long before I got there. You was there a long time. Tim was at the Opry back when it was still in black and white. That's how far back long time. No, he's had quite a career. He is a Grammy Award winner. He is a 13-time winner the past 10 years in a row. He's been Bluegrass Music's Dobro Player of the Year. And just a couple years ago, the industry, well, I guess a little longer now, the industry gave him their highest honor. He is the 2015 inductee into Bluegrass Music's Hall of Fame. This is Brother Tim Graves. Back on June 25th of 1975, Uncle Josh, who was the dobro player for Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, he brought me a dobro and a stack of records. And he said, here you go, kid, if you can hear this, you can play it. And I thought, okay. So I sat down with those records, and for the young people, a record is a big black disc with a little hole in the middle of it. That's what I had to learn to play with. So I would turn those records for 8 hours a day, and I had a goal that I wanted to be on the Grand Ole Opry in 10 years. And so January the 4th, 1984, 9.5 years later, walked out on that stage. Now, when I got to the Grand Ole Opry, it was still the Opry as I had known it growing up. All the pillar stars was there, such as Roy Acuff and Minnie Pearl and little Jimmy Dickens, Grandpa Jones, the Osborne brothers was there. Bill Monroe was even there. Jim and Jesse. It was just a wonderful place to play music at. We was always in room 2, so when we figured out what we was going to do that night on the Opry, I would go to room 1, which was Roy Acuff's room, and he always had his door open. He said that there was everybody was welcome. There was always a jam session going on. So I became good friends with Roy and Oswald, who was his dobro player. And I asked Roy one time, I said, Roy, why did you record the gospel song, The Great Speckled Bird? He said, I'll tell you why I recorded that song. He said, I recorded it one time and made $1 million off of it. I said, that's a pretty good reason. I said, I played it $1 million times, I made a penny off of it. It's a wonderful number. We hope you enjoy it one more time, The Great Speckled Bird.
You know, Tim and I have been traveling and singing together a lot of years. We've been sharing a hotel room on the road for many, many years, and I guess this will be the 18th year we've been doing this. But you know, after that many years of sharing a room with somebody, you eventually just run out of stuff to talk about. I mean, we've talked about everything. We know all of each other's family. We know each other's stories. We've actually had to start getting creative. We went out to Montana last summer. And this fellow here, and I spent nearly an hour one night talking about what would a chair look like if your knees bent the other way. Now that's one of those that'll keep you up. If you're sleepy, you'll start drawing pictures and things. But occasionally one of those strange conversations will end up in a song. We were in a hotel room a couple years ago, just about to go to sleep one night, and he hollers to me across the room. He says, "Dude, would you ever think about buying a used mattress?" I thought that was the craziest question. I said, no, I wouldn't buy it. Why don't you even ask me that? He said, I just laying here thinking, we just paid $100 to rent these two for a night. And I never thought about it that way. Whole new way of thinking. But then we got to talking about that. Got to talking about that hotel room and the folks who moved in there the night before, or the folks coming the next night, and what their story might be. You know, with us, when we're in a hotel room, it's usually a pretty good time for us. It usually means we just came back from a concert and we're on the way to another one, you know, so we're usually in a good mood, having a good time. But we got to talking that night about the people who are sometimes in hotel rooms and don't want to be there. Maybe they're traveling because of some family emergency they've got to deal with, or a funeral they've got to attend to. There's people in our country right now living in hotels, displaced because of those hurricanes and the floods and things. And I know that's not where they prefer to be. So I've always appreciated pretty much every hotel room we've ever been in. If you'll reach over in that nightstand between those two beds, you'll find a copy of the Gideon Bible. The Gideons have taken it upon themselves for many, many years to make sure that there's a copy of the Word there, oftentimes when people need it the very most. And we were talking about them that night about, boy, if that room could talk, I bet it could tell some stories. Or if that Bible could talk, I bet it would have some stories to tell. Well, if that Bible could talk, it might tell a story kind of like this one right here. 2, 3, 4. There've been millions made just like me, but no two are quite the same. Each of us have stories of the lives that we've seen change. I rolled off the printing press 8 years ago last June, and someone with the Gideons placed me in this hotel room. They slid me in a table drawer between two double beds. Won't stop, but I'm forgotten, but sometimes I do get read. There've been hundreds, even thousands who have passed a glance at me. But the ones who took my words to heart are now forever free. Power that's within me is available to all. So when some stranger picks me up, I'm there to heed the call. Whatever you are seeking, I have just the answer. It's pressed upon my pages, I'm the Bible in the drawer. There was a man from Indiana, lost in drugs and deep despair. He had just about hit bottom when he saw me laying there. He picked me up and started reading, found his place in heaven's plan. The next morning when he checked out, he walked out a different man. A young runaway from Dallas who had stopped in for the night. Out of money, food, and options when she saw me in the light. Jesus offered her the peace that she had craved but never found. Called home and soon her mom and dad, she were Texas bound. Brand new story walks into my room most every night, and the words of Jesus' love are here in red and black and white. Whatever you are seeking, I have just the answer for. It's blessed upon my pages, I'm the Bible in the drawer. It's blessed upon my pages, I'm the Bible in the drawer. The gentleman playing the banjo for us sings the bass for us in the quartets. Don is also a Grand Ole Opry veteran. He's worked with many of the legendary artists in bluegrass. He was a part of the Brooks and Dunn tour a few years ago. At one time, Don was the Tennessee and Alabama and Kentucky state banjo champion, which gives you an idea how good he can play. And we've known Don for many years. Don, just a good guy to travel with. He's kind of soft-spoken, but he's got this real dry sense of humor. And you know people like this that'll say something and they be the only one in the room not laughing. You know, like they don't even know it's funny. And he can say stuff and not even smile. It tickles me to death. We were out in Branson, Missouri last summer, and we were sitting backstage waiting to play. We played once and waiting to play again, and we just kind of sitting there not talking, just kind of out and being quiet for once, you know. And just out of the silence, Don said, "Did y'all know it is a scientific fact that women who carry around a few extra pounds live longer than the men who point that out?" I don't know where he does his research, but I just thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. I just love this fellow right here, and I know you will too. From just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, it's your brother Don Hill right here. kid, we used to live off this little two-lane blacktop highway, and if you followed it out far enough, you'd come to where my grandparents lived. And so as a kid, I spent a lot of time running up and down that road. But about halfway on the trip between our house and theirs sat a little grocery store. And kind of like you don't see much anymore. This was called Hicks's Grocery. A little old bitty place. When you first walked in the screen door, which tells you a whole lot about the place, right on the left-hand side of the door there was a drink box with the Coca-Colas in the little glass bottles like they used to make, you know. In the back of the store they had bologna on a big roll, and they'd slice off bologna for bologna sandwiches or bologna crackers, you know. But on the other side of the front door, when you first walked in, what I remember as a kid more than anything else, the most loaded down candy counter known to mankind. Or at least that's what I thought. Every possible type of candy bar or bubble gum, if it was candy related, it was right there on that counter. But I'd stopped there many times. But one day in particular, I'd stopped there with my daddy, and we were on the way home, and Daddy looked over and noticed that I had a candy bar. Daddy also knew that I didn't have any money. He did the math on that real quick. And I tell you what he did. He turned his pickup truck around and drove me back to Hicks's Grocery. And made me, all 9 years old that I was, walk in that store by myself and confess and explain to that fellow why I had stolen his merchandise. If I'd had a choice, I'd have took the electric chair right then over walking back in that store. I'll tell you that. That was the longest walk of my life. Yeah, but I can still today, when I tell the story, I can still feel the shame and the embarrassment of that.
Man.
But I learned that day the difference between being sorry you got caught at something and truly being sorry you did something. And then there's a difference. And I was thinking about that a few years ago when I was doing some songwriting, and a version of that story ended up in a song. Now, if you listen to Southern gospel music, you may recognize this. This was actually a #1 song in Southern gospel a few years ago, but that's the story behind it, and it goes like this. 2, 3, 4. Two little boys were staring at the candy on display. One whispered to the other with the clerk looking away. Just put it in your pocket, no one will ever know. We'll eat it all before we get back home. That little boy just stared down at the candy on the shelf. You could almost hear the conversation he had with himself. Then he gave the clerk $1, took the candy and his change, gave half to his buddy and explained, no matter who's watching, no matter who sees, Jesus in my heart knows how wrong that would be. When I'm home and Mama asks me, have you been good? Though she would never know, I would. Well, little boys, they grow up, temptations grow up too, and we're living in a world that says do what you want to do. But they don't know what hurt them is the devil's battle cry. Well, a godly man knows that is just a lie. No matter who's watching, no matter who sees, Jesus in my heart knows how wrong that would be. When the Holy Spirit asks me, have you been good? The world The gentleman playing the guitar for us, sings leads and harmonies for us. Keith is about as all around talented as you can be musically. He is also a Grand Ole Opry veteran. He is a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter. He has written not one but 2 Song of the Year awards. He is a 4-time Guitar Player of the Year nominee in Bluegrass. Just all kinds of awards and accolades. And we were actually fans of Keith and his music before he joined our band a number of years ago. And now I just can't imagine doing it without him. He grew up in Florida, living in Nashville for a long time. I believe you'll enjoy this morning, Brother Keith, too.
Well, I also write the introductions in case you were wondering.
I read it just like you did.
No, but I'd like to share a song with you folks that I was inspired to write after growing up down in Florida and listening to my grandmother tell us kids what it was like growing up in L.A. Actually.
Los Angeles?
No, man, Lower Alabama. But I can remember my cousins and I, we'd all gather around the front of my grandmother's chair. She had a little table that she kept right next to her chair with 2 things on it at all times. She always had her Bible and she always had a spittoon. That's right, I had a snuff dipping green. Did any of y'all have a female relative that dipped tobacco? That'll admit to it, right? Yeah, Tim said both his grandmothers dipped, so he was kind of surrounded by it. But we decided we didn't think you can really profess to be country. I mean, truly country, till you've had to kiss your snuff dipping granny square in the lips after she gets addicted to that chocolate. But along with that, she shared some wonderful stories about growing up on the farm and looking out and seeing her dad work in the fields behind a mule and a plow. And I can remember at family reunions seeing an old plow rusted up with grass growing up around it. And us kids would just run around out in the pasture and use it for home base for a game of tag. You know, we didn't really think a whole lot of it. But as I got older and I kind of looked back at that old plow and thought about it, I realized that it stood for a lot more than just home base for a game of tag. You know, it stood for a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat, you know, that must have went in behind that old plow for him to provide for his family. And it just inspired me to want to write a song looking through the eyes of a child, growing up back in the day when Mama prayed and Daddy plowed. Daddy taught me how to turn the earth. Mama taught me what the love of Jesus is worth. He worked the fields all day long, and you and a plow. At night time, Mama would speak the word, and we'd all gather around. Thank you, Lord, for another blessed day, for keeping us all so guarded and safe. Thanks for your love and the rich pearl ground. Mama prayed, Daddy plowed. With the Alabama sun on his back, he showed us the value of a 40-acre tract. And sometimes he'd sing a song on his way back in. Supper was over, we brought the boards again. Thank you, Lord, for another blessed day, for keeping us all so guarded and safe. Thanks for your love and the rich pearl ground. Mama prayed, Daddy plowed. did that song a few years back right here in Indiana. And I'll never forget this gentleman. He was probably in his mid-80s. He came up to me after the concert and said that that song was basically his life story in song form. He said as I was singing the lyrics to that song, he was reliving a lot of his childhood memories. And as he was telling me this, a tear started rolling down his cheek. And he said there was something that his mother had told him as a boy that he wanted to share with me. He said that she told him, son, if you're going to eat in this world, you're going to have to learn to dig in the dirt. And just those 4 words, as simple as they sound, they hit me that morning in a way. It's kind of hard to explain, but I knew there was a lot more to it than just those 4 words. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, with pad and pencil there at the house where I normally sit and write, I thought of that gentleman, and I thought of those 4 words that he had shared with me that his mother had shared with him as a boy, and what they must have meant to him. And before I knew it, it was more like taking dictation than it was trying to come up with words to a song or a poem or anything. It was just as fast as I could get it on paper, I wrote it down. And when I look back at it, it was just words of wisdom, that his folks might have shared with him as a boy to help him become a better farmer and just a better all-around person. And the song wound up being the title cut of the second to the latest CD that we have with us. And in 2016, it won the Bluegrass Song of the Year at the Music Awards in Nashville, Tennessee. So we're really proud of that. And we'd like to share it with you now. It's all called Digging the Dirt. As I watched my daddy working out in the field, and he prayed for rain so he could pay the bills. He said a wise man better learn as he goes. Life's a mighty long road. You got to dig in the dirt. Plant those seeds down in the earth. Have a little faith and put in the word. You've got to dig in the dirt. We were up with the chickens and we worked till dawn. Mama used to tell me gotta do my part. By the sweat of my brow, row after row, made a man out of me as I watched it grow. You got to dig in the dirt. Plant those seeds down in the earth. Have a little faith and put in the word. You've got to dig in the dirt. Hard times are calling, there's still mouths to feed. And praying's not the only thing we do on our knees. You got to dig in the dirt. Plant those seeds down in the earth. Have a little faith and put in the word. You've got to dig in the dirt. You've got to have a little faith and put in the word. Dig in the dirt.
Thank you. Let me tell you who's playing the bass up here for us. Me and this guy has known each other forever. He's one of the finest in the business. He's the actual 2016 and 17 Bluegrass Songwriter of the Year. He is one of the finest vocalists you're going to find in the business, and one of the finest MCs that's ever been on the stage. Make you welcome Mr. Darrell Mosley.
Sound like Keith Roach with that intro too. Huh? Oh, I'll tell you what, when we travel, we learned a long time ago that there's a couple of questions that we get a lot, and we started making it a habit of explaining a couple things whenever we're out. The number one question we get when we travel is always some version of, where are your overalls? Because we were expecting farm hands. And that's right, we love that question because it gives us the opportunity to explain it. The name farm hands actually comes from the scripture in Matthew that says the harvest is plenteous. It's the laborers that are few.
Amen. Right.
Pray therefore he will send forth laborers unto the harvest. Well, down in our neck of the woods, a laborer unto the harvest would just be called a farmhand. And so that's why we chose that name. And in fact, the t-shirt we carry with us says, I'm a farmhand on the front and has that scripture on the back because we believe that you are also a farmhand. The field He's placed you is different from ours. Maybe the tools and implements you use different from ours. But as a Christian, it's also your responsibility to be working in the field where He has placed you. And so that's why we chose that name. Now, the next question we get, this always tickles me because we've been so blessed at the places we've been able to sing. Everywhere from the Grand Ole Opry to some of the largest festivals in America to some huge auditoriums and big mega churches, but also some really small rural country churches. We're all products of little country churches, so we feel right at home there. But it'll always be at some little country church on a Sunday morning, and there'll be some little lady, and she'll come up to us and she'll say, "Now, all y'all sung on the Grand Ole Opry?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you're Entertainers of the Year, and you've won all them awards?" "Yes, ma'am." "Why are you here?" And she'll say it like we just took a wrong turn off the highway. Just weird, and we always tell them the same thing, and it's just blessed, I guess. It is amazing to me how you can look at your life and see events happen, and at the time they seem so random and unrelated. But then you can look back on your life and you can see how God weaved those things together into this perfect tapestry that becomes your story. And that's certainly what He has done here. Tim and I were singing at the Grand Ole Opry and had believed for a while that God was going to do something. We was going to do something together. We just didn't know what. But we were standing on the Grand Ole Opry stage one Saturday night just about to sing. And I happened to look over at Tim. And Tim said, "It's time, isn't it?" I said, "It is." So we just knew. So we went in the next week. We turned in our notice. We quit the Grand Ole Opry and waited for God to do something. And in a remarkably short span of time, the foundation of this group began to take shape. And God had foresight in a way that I would have never. Because He had it all put together way before I could before I could point out the problems, He already had a solution. When He brought Tim and I together, Tim is obviously this super talented, well-known, experienced player and singer, but he's also had a wonderful relationship with promoters and people all across the nation. And so we had folks right off the bat who wanted us to come and play, which was a huge hurdle. When God sent us Don's this banjo playing rascal, but he's like MacGyver. This guy, I ain't kidding. If he can't fix it, he'll just build you another one. I've never seen anything like it. You give this guy a roll of Scotch tape, a bent paper clip, he'll fix your transmission. Man, it's the craziest thing. I marvel at that. I can't hold a flashlight, but I can't tell you how many times that comes in handy as we travel. When God sent us Keith, Keith's got all these awards and talents and abilities, but Keith came from a career background. For many years, he was an over-the-road truck driver, which means he can drive for hours and hours. It doesn't bother. He can sleep while he drives. It don't bother him. And it's amazing. And I just am so blessed because I realize that I get to travel all the time with men who could, at any given weekend, be somewhere else, making a lot of money. Riding on a bigger bus, one that they don't have to drive. That sort of thing. They could be out on the country music tours or back doing recordings or back on the Grand Ole Opry, but they believe that their life and their talents are best served with the things of Christ. And taking those gifts He's given them and giving those back in His service, and not seeing that as a sacrifice, but seeing that as an opportunity and a blessing. And it's truly a blessing for me to get a chance to travel with guys like that. That's I'll never get past that. I just want to share that with you. We want to sing you one more song, and we'll turn it back over. This is one of those life-changing moments for me. I wrote this song a number of years ago. A few months after I wrote it, somehow or other, and I still don't know how, it ended up in the hands of Bill Gaither's record company. And they called me. Said, "We got this group that's really looking for a special song, and they've heard this song of yours, and they'd like to record it. Would that be all right?" Would that be all right? Is that a trick question? Absolutely would be all right. At the time, I'd never heard of the Booth Brothers. I didn't know who they were. They just wanted to sing this song. And in the years since they recorded it, this song's been around the world. It's their signature song, and it actually made the list as one of the top 35 Southern gospel songs of all time. But my aha moment came in a conversation I had with Bill Gaither himself. And Bill said, "Darrell, you realize one of these days that song is going to outlive you." I never thought about that. But I knew what he meant. What he meant was one of these days, if the Lord tarries, I won't be here anymore. But the song will still be here and still ministering for me. And that's the first time I realized as a Christian why it's important for us to leave behind a spiritual legacy. To leave a path behind your faith that other folks can follow. Because it doesn't just apply to songs. One of these days, if the Lord tarries, these guys I travel with, they won't be here anymore.
but the lives they've impacted for the cause of Christ, through their ability to write and sing and play and their willingness to do that for His glory, that will continue in the lives that those people touch. And then again in the lives that the next group touches. You know, one of these days, if the good Lord tarries, you won't be here anymore. But the lives you impact for the cause of Christ, through your own gifts and talents and skills and abilities, and your willingness to use those for His glory, will continue in the lives that they touch. And then again in the lives that the next group touches. That's what the Great Commission is about. That's what being a farmhand really is all about, is recognizing how unique and completely individual God created you. And realizing that where you are, where you live, where you work, where you go to school, where you are on this planet is not by accident. That you are placed there. And you have the opportunity and the ability to reach out into the circle of people around you, people that we may never get to see. The person next to you may never get to see. You may be the only opportunity they ever get. The road to heaven or hell for that person may run through you and only through you. That's why it's so important to truly be a farmer. So we're going to sing you this song, then we'll turn it back over. If you listen to Southern Gospel, you'll probably recognize the song. The bluegrass version is a little different than the one you've heard, but this is kind of what it sounded like when we first wrote it. I was working in town one afternoon, attending some business affairs. I heard a commotion a couple streets over. I wondered what's happening there. A young man was running from in that direction. He stopped just to catch his breath. I asked him to please tell me what was the hurry. He smiled up at me and he said, I was trying to catch the crippled man. Did he run past this way? He was rushing home to tell everyone what Jesus did today. And the mute man was telling myself, and the deaf girl was leaving to answer God's call. It's hard to believe, but you don't trust me. Ask the blind man, he saw it all. Ask the blind man, he saw it all. My friend, if the troubles and burdens you carry are heavy and dragging you down, you tried everything that you can possibly think of, and there's no relief to be found. Friend, that very same Jesus that altered the future of the blind man, the deaf, and the lame, He is still reaching out in your hour of trouble. One touch and you're never the same. Young and trying to catch the crippled man. Did he run past this way? He was rushing home to tell everyone what Jesus did today. And the mute man was telling myself, and the deaf girl was leaving to answer God's call. It's hard to believe, but you don't trust me. Ask the blind man, he saw it all. Ask the blind man, he saw it all.
way they presented the gospel, and I appreciate that. And I know they're professionals. They're on the offering. But their heart for Christ was in a little church in Bunker Hill, and they presented it to you. If there's anybody here that, I don't know what kind of struggles you could be dealing with or whatever, but if you're dealing with something, we can pray for you today. If you don't know Christ today, I think you could have heard in the song that Christ is constantly reaching out to us. We're going to pray over this offering, but these fellows are going to play a song. If you just want some prayer today, some of these, maybe this music touched your heart, the lyrics or whatever, you just want some prayer. You're welcome to come up here. We'll pray with you. Whatever your need is, God will take care of it. And we're all here. We're all in it together. Okay. So you got somebody to pray over the offering?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this message that we were able to get today and be able to receive, Lord. Please watch over these fellows as they continue to do your words, Lord. Please allow us to give to them as you see fit, Lord, so they can continue to do a ministry like this. It's just so powerful. Please continue to watch over us. Bless the ministry that they're in and protect them. Help them, Lord Jesus, to continue to stand firm and strong in their foundation and their focus, Lord. We love you and praise you, and we're very grateful to you, Heavenly Father, for them being here today. We ask that you bless them as they continue on. And thank you, Lord, for every soul that's represented here. Thank you, Lord, for Jake and his family. And we just ask, God, you continue to watch over each and every one. Keep our focus on you, Lord Jesus. We trust you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all very, very much for being here. And did you really appreciate it?
Can you play Family Circle? The little circle being broken? Yeah. Can you do that? Do that a little bit. Do that. And he spoke right out into the church.
It's Brad. It's Brad.
Yeah, we'll do one more for you. We appreciate you letting us be here today. We do come through the area once in a while. If you'd like to keep up with us, we have a website. It's just farmhandsquartet.com. Our schedule's on there, and we also have Facebook and the other social medias and things if you follow those as well. And do have a table out in the foyer with CDs and T-shirts and pocket knives and And pies, we do have our fried pies. We've been carrying fried pies for years because we discovered a long time ago there are grown people in America that don't know what lard is. True, don't know what it is, don't know what you do with it, you know. But there's a wonderful little couple, the Pattersons, great Christian folks in a little town called Linden, Tennessee, that own this little company, Armstrong Pies. Been in business since 1946, still uses the original recipe, which includes lard. And they've been supporting us for a long time, so we've been carrying those pies with us for a long time. And I tell you, they've opened up doors we'd have never gone through otherwise. They've started conversations with folks. You wouldn't think that a pie fried in lard would be a tool of ministry, but it absolutely has been. Well, we got a little, you know, this is a little medley that we have been singing for a long time because these are songs that are so dear to us. And I know you're going to know these. These are going to be a great way to end the service. So sing along with us when we appreciate it. Oh.